Hello there. I just want to make a quick video. I won't keep you for long. I guess basically I wanted to try a new format here. This video idea, what are some of the greatest lies ever told? At least from my opinion, my research. This first video I wanted to do was basically asking the simple question, did King David ever once use the symbol known as the Star of David today? The Star of David, or the hexagram that you see on Israel's flag since the 40s, since this modern state of Israel was created. Did King David ever actually use that symbol? Well, the answer is no. Because that symbol, repurposed from Jewish mysticism, Talmudic mysticism, came out of Babylon. What King David would have chosen for Israel's flag today was the menorah candle between two olive trees, or even this picture here, between two blue stripes. Nowhere in the Torah does it endorse using the Star of Moloch, the Star of Remphan, as their own symbol. We are not to worship as the heathens do. So then, in answer to the obvious next question, if this wasn't King David's symbol, what is it doing on the flag today? But imagine a scenario 100 years ago today where there was no radio even yet, where they could easily start swapping out and transmogrifying symbols and changing things and reappropriating symbols to use for whatever purpose, in this case, to marry the occult with what people presume to be Israel. And you have to remember, the northern 10 tribes have been divorced by Yahweh, and only the southern 2 tribes are technically Jews, Judeans. So how this happened was just simple hijacking of symbolism, in my opinion. And now 100 years later, regurgitated and respoken and reused over and over again, people have just come to accept it as the Star of David. When in actuality, if David was here today and saw that flag hanging over Israel, he would freak out. So how did that flag end up coming to be in the first place then, you might ask? Well, I'll play this short little clip from the Leonard Ulrich documentary, New World Order, Secret Societies, and Biblical Prophecy, and you can see for yourself that it began, in the modern era at least, with a man named Theodore Herschel.
We must understand political Zionism up to World War I if we are to understand the entire foundation of the 20th century. Austrian Jew Theodor Herzl published a book in 1896 entitled The Jewish State. It proposed a Jewish state to cure the problem of anti-Semitism. The Rothschilds founded the Zionist Federation of Great Britain in 1897 to promote political Zionism with Theodor Herzl as president. We must stop our survey of political Zionism at this point to carefully define it. Political Zionism is the social movement which creates and sustains the physical nation of Israel. This definition is in the present tense because the territory of Israel is in a state of flux. Political Zionism is also the driver for world government through Israel in the tradition of the heretical Frankist Jews. This definition is embodied by the Rothschild family. Not all Jews are political Zionists. Not all political Zionists are Jews. The political Zionist movement feeds off Jews in the same way that the Nazi movement fed off Germans. Political Zionism is the greatest enemy of the Jews. Political Zionism is the ultimate dialectic, and Theodor Herzl understood this. Frankism is the basis of political Zionism, which expressed itself in the Russian Revolution. Karl Marx's real name was Moses Mordecai Levy. Vladimir Lenin was born Vladimir Ilyich Ulyanov, which is of Jewish lineage. Leon Trotsky's real name was Lev Davidovich Bronstein. The Rothschilds finally succeeded in making good on the threat to remove the Romanov dynasty from power through the Frankist Bolsheviks they controlled. The madness of World War II accomplished several things for the Illuminati financiers. Profits could be generated by rebuilding Japan and using it to provide cheap labor to flood America with inexpensive goods. Most importantly, World War II paved the way to create the United Nations and the nation of Israel.
So all that being said, this also brings into question the idea of the Israel of disbelief. And if this flag isn't the real Israel flag, what is their purpose in prophecy and eschatology in the end times itself? And simply put, I would have to hand that over to greater researchers than me and guys like Rob Skiba in the Virtual House Church. So I'll just play this clip from Virtual House Church Week 51 with them talking about the biblical explanation behind all of this and what is the Israel of disbelief compared to Yeshua Jesus Christ coming back and restoring the true Jerusalem.
And what actually convinced me as confirmation, I'd say the scriptures convinced me, but what was confirmation of what I was already becoming convinced of was seeing Orthodox Jewish rabbis protesting 1948 established Zionist Israel. Zionism is no friend of the Jew or Israel in general. It's a whole different animal. And I saw tens of thousands of Orthodox Jewish rabbis and, just Orthodox Jews in general protesting 1948, protesting Zionism and holding up signs saying that is a violation of our Torah. And what's that star of Remfan doing? Remfam do whatever Remfan doing on our flag, But look, here are these hardcore Jewish guys, protesting it because it's a violation of Torah, and they understand that the nation will be established by Messiah. Now, they don't recognize Yeshua as Messiah, generally speaking. Some that do, of course. But they understand that the regathering of the whole house, northern 10 tribes being united with the southern, whole kingdom being established, will happen when the Messiah does it. When Messiah establishes the land, that's going to be the legitimate land of Israel. And we see, he says it right here. It's an if-then. If you do this, then I will pull you from the nations where I scattered you for disobeying me. And he also talks about, but if you don't, this land's going to spit you out. I mean, we see that in Leviticus 18 and Leviticus 26 also. Leviticus 18 tells you point blank, you don't obey me, the land will vomit you out. So I'm very concerned about what we see happening over there in that plot of land calling itself Israel, because as a nation, granted, there are individuals there, there's always a remnant, there are people there keeping Torah. But as a nation, it's anything but Torah observant, and it's anything but the kingdom established by the Messiah.
Well, we had World War II. Israel was put in place, and we know the histories behind that. We know that Yahweh allowed them to become a state again, a country. The Zionists, a lot of people are getting confused, but at the same time, how do you see this playing out? Is it a part of the deception, do you think?
Yeah, I do. I think it's a big part of the deception. I think it's a counterfeit. However, I do believe it is a fulfillment of Scripture, just not the Scriptures everybody's pointing to. Everybody wants to say, can a nation be born in a day? Isaiah 66:8. Sure, May 14th, 1948. Yeah, read 4 verses later. 4 verses later, it says, peace will flow from that land like a river. Well, we've had anything but peace. And you read also in the context, it says, I'm going to drive all the weapons of war from your land. You will not dwell in fear. All that stuff's all jacked up because of people like Darby and Schofield and Clarence Larkin and Tim LaHaye and everybody that's followed suit. That's all got messed up. So what scriptures do fit? Mm-hmm. Well, in my mind, because we do see that obviously, there are people in the land in the last days. In fact, if they are, Yeshua says, if you're here in Judea, get out. in the last days, get out. The 2 ingatherings. There's one in belief, which is the one we're talking about, an ingathering in belief where people get back on God's page and do things his way. Then he brings them in. That's the ingathering in belief. There's an ingathering in unbelief that I believe is supported by Zephaniah chapter 1, verses 1 and 2. And Zephaniah chapter 1, verses 1 and 2 talks about a nation gathering itself together. Is it Zephaniah 2? Let me look it up. I'll screen share this so people don't think I'm making it up. Zephaniah chapter 2. Gather yourselves together, yea, gather together, O nation not desired. before the decree bring forth, before the day pass as the chaff, before the fierce anger of the Lord come upon you, before the day of the Lord's anger. He says it twice, come upon you. So, here he's saying, yeah, go ahead, gather yourselves together, O nation undesired, because it's not a nation that's following his ways. And the context is they're being gathered together twice. It says here that the Lord's anger is going to come upon them. And we see in Zechariah chapter 13 that 2/3 of that place is going to die and 1/3 is going to go through the fire. So is 1948 a fulfillment of Scripture? Well, not the usual ones everybody wants to point to, but it sure fits this one.
And so, yeah, coming back from that second clip, I guess that's all I really got to say about that. I just wanted to try this new format out. But again, I urge everybody to make up their own minds. Don't believe a word I say. Research everything I say. And check out the citations below again, like I said. Because at the end of the day, people can find all the excuses they want not to listen to a citation or a piece of evidence. But that doesn't actually change the outcome of anything. So I always urge people to give the information a try. Never be scared of an idea. And always look for citations from the mouths of 2 or more witnesses. So at that, I'll just leave you to it, and I'll say, peace out, baby.